Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Random. Egberto, Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you as usual. Where are my peeps? ¿Dónde están mis miembros? ¿Dónde están todos? Where is everybody? E2247, welcome aboard. AVQ, El Señor Radnin, welcome aboard. But where is everybody else in the chat? Where is everybody else in the chat? I guess folks are not signed up yet. I guess our mail hasn't gone out yet. We'll see what happens. Okay, it's starting to fill up. Now it's starting to fill up. I guess that's on Twitter. Let's see. I guess the Twitter is starting to come on. The Facebook is starting to come on. And okay, good. It's slowly growing. It's slowly growing in all the different channels. Well, we're going to have a great program for you today. How's everybody doing today? Chat is light today, Egberto. Yeah. I imagine folks are going to start coming in a little late. Maybe it's because the weather is bad in New York, even as it is great here in Texas today, or well, in Houston today. Lee Grant is in the house from Montgomery County. We have Michael Rudden from Brooklyn, New York. We have E2247 from all over. We have Jay Ray says, Buenas tardes, peeps. Pues, Lee Ray, buenas tardes. I know they would be coming. Paul Fleming is in the house from Atlanta, Georgia. Jay Ray from 3rd Ward, Houston. So our peeps are coming slowly, but they're coming. They're coming. We're gonna have a little light talk introducing until we get a few more people in the house. As it turns out, I really do think that a lot of people are not getting our signal. That's why I'm trying to. I'm trying to work on our own text kind of a thing because it's not working. I think YouTube is throttling our program, and I don't think it's giving the bells to everybody who signed up to get the bells. If you're on YouTube, go ahead and select so that when we come on, you get an indication that we come on. Because I don't think YouTube is doing it as it should. And I also think because of our subject matter, at times we get throttled. Like I think we're being throttled right now. And what is the subject? Medicare Advantage, as well as MAGA GOP. So, what can I say? Michael says, rain all day, still go out to feed my birds. Outside cats are no show. Gonna have to wait until the rain ends, But there's one good thing with Brooklyn. Brooklyn, like Houston, has great ethnic foods throughout that borough. I have an uncle that lives somewhere in Brooklyn, and he gets all kind of good food, including Jamaican food, Panamanian food, Honduran food. He likes his ackee and saltfish. You should try that as well, Radin. It's called ackee, Ackee, with saltfish, usually codfish. Really, really good. All right, Politico by Paul Fleming. The federal government will change the way it collects demographic data related to race and ethnicity, laying the groundwork for a more accurate 2030 census, officials said. I'd love to know how that's going to be. How are they going to classify me? Because because of in America how I'm classified. Afro, Latino, Caribbean, so I have 3 classifications. You know what I mean? I imagine somebody else has Afro, maybe African. Afro does mean Africa, but there are so many different classifications one can use. Jay Ray said, I got some friends in Brooklyn who've been urging me to visit. Yeah, Brooklyn, it's an old city that a lot of places in it's been gentrified. I went there about 5 years ago, I think, and they started the gentrification process in Brooklyn, which I don't like, but a lot of stoops are getting all cleaned up and fixed up nicely. They're getting areas now with Starbucks and other interesting things, right? Yeah, Bridge is missing. I bet she shows up in a little bit late. All right, E2247 says Ireland joins genocide case against Israel today. I read that last night, actually. What else have we got here? Michael says, YouTube shows me notification every time, but I don't rely on notification. Old school. I have an alarm radio to remind me. It's why I'm always here first. And I love it, Radnan. I love it. If I don't see you there first, I get concerned and wonder, do I need to send him a text to make sure he's okay? I remember one time I did that and you said, I have just got a cold. Well, hey, when you break tradition, we still try to get in touch, Radnan. We still try to do it. We try to keep up with our peeps. Anyway, it looks like we're going to have so far not a full audience. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start with the video before I get into Medicare Advantage, because I want you to check out this video from this morning. I don't know if you were on the show this morning, Ray, but I think you're going to find this discussion interesting, and then we'll take it on the other side. Let me go set that up and do it. Here we go. We got a caller. Come on in, Joe.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
I'm doing fine. Talk to me, brother Joe.
Good, man. Truth Social, man, and finance and big money. And it reminds me of the George Carlin that George Carlin.
I love George Carlin. Thank you for bringing that up.
It's a big club, and you ain't in it, right?
Man.
And the thing is, that's the reason I do a lot of the things I do, because Trump ain't in that club either, right? Or he didn't used to be. We'll see. The unfortunate, don't talk about Republicans. You can talk about Republicans, but remember, the Republican Party is bifurcated right now. There's MAGA Republicans, and then there are these Rhino Republicans. Let's just call them that. I hate that term, but they're purple, right? They'll fold up like a cheap suit the first chance they get. They'll sell out in a heartbeat, just like any politician, whatever your stripe, right? But what I wanted to mention today was there's a blogger, and you mentioned it the other day, and it made me think. You said, "Oh man, I could make all kinds of money if I wrote for the right wing," And I read about this case of a blogger. He's a partner at a law firm, and he's got a YouTube channel with like 1 million followers or so. And let's see if I can find his name. Trial by Preston is his name, and he just kind of opens the door on what's a huge underground economy that you alluded to the other day. He says he was offered sums of money to go out to spread anti-Trump January 6th insurrection lies. And the request they sent him was very explicit. He had to say the criminal conspiracy. He had to say, quote, Trump Republicans. He had to say, quote, January 6th insurrection, right? And so, he turned the money down. He's the man of integrity, right? But it makes me wonder about all those other, the day after the 2020 election fraud, everyone was saying Trump's baseless claims. It's as if that word baseless had to be included to get paid. Anyway, I just wanted to mention
Joe,
that.
a couple of questions because I gave you a lot of time to talk, but I need to talk to you now. Yeah. And I'm trying to get through your thought process. Why is it that you think, first of all, do you believe that more than that Trump lost the popular vote in this last election by 7 million people?
I think that Trump won the 2020 election.
No, I'm talking 2020. Yeah, the 20. Do you think that 7 million? Let's forget about the Electoral College for now. Do you think 7 million more people voted for?
No. The Electoral College. No, the Electoral College is important, man.
But wait. I'm asking you for the purpose of this discussion. I'm asking you to disregard that for now. I'm not talking about the importance. I'm just asking you to disregard that. I'm asking, do you think that Trump really lost the popular vote by 7 million people?
I don't know.
Okay, well, that's what the rolls say, right? That's what things that count out to be. The other thing that I want to ask you is on all the elections the particular states that Trump is disputing, all the Republicans in that state, they won. Like if you take a look at Wisconsin, they won their close to supermajority. Republicans did. And all the Republican Congress people and senators and so forth, they won the election. In fact, even the close election between Johnson and I don't remember the name of the senator, that the guy who ran against him, he won. So, I mean, all the arguments that I think were made that said machines were corrupted, etc., you would have to say that they only corrupted the item in these machines for Donald Trump. And that would be a hell of a secret to hold. I mean, you're a smart guy. I know that. You're in the oil business, that kind of stuff. I just don't see how you constantly buy into this huge conspiracy that so many people came in, including the 63 judges that ruled against Trump, to say that the election was stolen. I just don't see how somebody of your caliber buys into that discussion. So maybe you can help me there.
Yeah, it's because I think that you don't really need to go out and poison every county in the United States. You know, if you're a savvy operator and you recognize that really for looking at the numbers for every election, it boils down to probably just a few cities that decide the election. And within those cities, just a few precincts within those cities that really need to be poisoned. So you know where to focus your mail-in ballots or whatever method.
Okay, but don't you think there ought to be more proof on that? I mean, this would be magical for something like this to happen. I mean, and then, I just don't understand how you can convince yourself of that. And like I said, I personally think you're too smart to buy into that sort of thing. I think a better thing to do would be to buy into, you just happen to like Trump because he's going to stick it to the system. But the truth of the matter is most people are not, if you take all polls, even the polls that show him substantially there, right? Most people don't think or don't like Trump. So, I mean, I think it's important that we understand that. And it's not about hating Trump. Look,
I don't like him.
I know you don't.
I wouldn't like him either. Who likes a brash New Yorker, right? But he said.
But hold on, Joe. So there's something, Joe, a smart person like you, there is something that I don't understand, that Neil doesn't understand. And I think maybe you don't understand why there is a certain group of folk that can gravitate to this guy. I mean, I have some hunches. You really want to stick it to the system, and both of the systems have failed. I think there's a lot there, but I don't know. But I tell you what, my calls are starting to keep up, and I think I gave you a lot of airtime. So let's keep talking. You keep calling in. I love hearing your voice. All right, brother?
Egberto, we'll see you down the road.
All right, man. Take it easy. Again, this is the guy that we go back and forth with in the mornings. And interestingly, there are times that he comes around, but there's this stuff called revert into form. And that is how, and I think Bridge MCP, welcome Bridge. Bridge has noticed some of that with a lot of people that she works with, where she sees that she see herself nudging them. And Bridge, you can tell me if I'm kind of quoting you accurately. She sees them nudging to the right direction, but then they kind of spring back, not necessarily all the way back, but they spring back to form. It's almost like you have to break that thing so you can take that stress out to make the change permanent. If you want to talk about that, Bridge, you can always call and explain what I think we've spoken about before. What happens is this: why I always talk about giving people a place to land. People are vested in their beliefs, whether false or not. They're vested in those beliefs, and when you're vested in a certain belief, it is hard to leave, because it's hard for you to admit that you were all wrong, or that you had been taken to the cleaners, or that you've been had. Because saying that you've been had, you believe people look at you as less than, something is wrong with you that you've been had. So you try to make that a permanent truth to yourself. You make that a permanent truth to yourself. And yeah, what Bri says, Egberto, yes, they do. They want to move forward, but then they stay in their comfort zone. And the thing about that comfort zone is you have to give them that landing zone that they can find another comfort as well. I know some people that when they've made that change, there are two kinds of changes I've seen people make, right? They just go all out and change, and those are the ones that scare me. They become more progressive than I am, to the limit, to the deepest extent. Well, I don't think you can get very much more progressive than I am. But anyhow, but then there are others that when people speak to them, they don't give these people a place to land. So they feel if they give up everything that they believe in, however wrong that it is, that what are they left with? All their friends think like they do. All the connections that they have think like they do. And if they walk into a room with these changes, what have they got? And you know what? I've actually seen this firsthand. I've sat down and spoken to people at Starbucks in my red area and had long, very productive conversations where the persons they agree with me and they're wow, I never looked at it that way. Yeah, I see what you're saying, etc. And we leave the conversation with a handshake and a changed person. And then I see that person a few days later in Starbucks, and as I'm walking in, he's this time with a whole bunch of friends. And he turns around and he looks at me in horror. And I understood exactly what that horror meant. Are you going to come over and talk to me along with my friends and blow my cover? Are you going to come over here and make mention that I've agreed with you? The people dynamics is very, 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 very complicated. And in doing this work that I do, that we do, many of us do, because Bridge is doing it out there in Binghamton, New York. You don't have to only be cognizant of being right. You have to give people a place to land, and you have to know when to give people cover because of who they are and who they're surrounded by. It is so important. Breed says, I find those I speak to or listen to really have no idea how Congress works, who votes for what. They're not political at all, yet they are pissed at nonsense they hear. And that's the idea, right? That is what Trump works on. Trump works a lot on the low information person, the person that likes to be led, the person that doesn't have a good independent manner of thinking. And again, believe it or not, that's a lot of our friends, both on the left and the right. It so happened that those on the left fell in the right place, right? But there's no difference between, again, where you fall in right. If you fell in the right place, it's great. But if you fall in the wrong place, Mike C. Sex Egberto, you're constantly denying true and facts. That's why so few people watch your show. People would rather watch shows that actually talk truth. It's why such a large majority think the political left is absolutely crazy. Well, I may have a little bit of, a small audience. You're right. On my live show, I get substantially more, actually a whole lot more on podcasts. But you're right. If I could really blow up my audience right now. I've had offers to go ahead and start doing the right wing line stuff, or I could do a left wing program that when people like you come on, just called you imbeciles and idiots and all that kind of stuff. And I will get a lot more viewers if I change my ethics. I can get a whole lot more. I know how to do it, but it misses the point. I am happy to have a small growing audience. I repeat, I am happy to have a small but growing audience where people are going to be really hearing the truth and not what people throw out there and sells. That's just who I am. So, Mike, that statement is really has a counterpunch that you wanted to put out there. It's like, you know that I'm right, so you want to sort of make me feel bad about my small audience. You know, that's not going to work. I'm not in this for getting. I would love to have 100,000 people watching right now. I'm not going to get that. But I tell you what happened over the last 2 days. Over the last 2 days, I broke 30,000, right? I now have 30,000 people who are not paid subscribers, but 30,000 people who are subscribers to YouTube. I just crossed that yesterday. Excited as hell. Go look and see how many channels have 30,000 people. I'm not talking about the mega influencers, etc., but folks that are talking real stuff. Not many, right? So again, it's just about telling the truth, Mike. That's all it's about. It's just about telling the truth. All right, let me read some more of your messages here. Let me scroll up. Melanie Keelan is in the house from Barcelona, Spain. Great to see you, Melanie. What else have we got here? E2247 is going to tell us the numbers again. Very important. Day 174 since 7 October 23 equal at least 32,552 Palestinians killed. It's a shame. 62 persons more than day 173. So 62 people died yesterday. At population with 32,490 killed, 187 per day killed. Thank you for keeping us centered on that. Paul Fleming says the ACA isn't perfect, but neither were Social Security and Medicare when launched. They have been improved over time, and we are still improving them. I remember all too well what it was like when tens of millions of people couldn't get health insurance because of their pre-existing conditions. If we want more improvements to the ACA, we need to flip the House, elect more senators, and re-elect the president. And do what the ACA should naturally converge into healthcare for all. It will eventually converge into that, but we have to have the wherewithal to do that, Paul Fleming. I want it to be the day that you go with a card for healthcare. You don't have to pay $1. It comes out of general funds, and we're getting there. We are going to get there. And that's why I do this. If I didn't think there was a future, I wouldn't be doing this. All right. We also have Michael Ronnie said the ACA is, no, I read that one. Mike Cisak says, Paul Fleming, there were a lot of Democrat working folks who lost their good health insurance after the ACA was passed. These hundreds of thousands who lost their health insurance were no longer Democrat supporters. And Mike Cisak, that is simply a lie. You can have good insurance on paper, but when it is time to use it, it's no good. I repeat, your state, you talk about lying, Mike Cisak. That statement is a calculable lie. Before Obamacare, insurances had a maximum limit of which you could use. Before Obamacare, women paid more for health insurance than men. Before Obamacare, in many insurance policies, being a woman was a pre-existing condition. Before Obamacare, there were pre-existing conditions that could prevent you from getting insurance, or if you had insurance and they realized that that condition existed before you were insured, they could deny you service. Before Obamacare, they could cancel your insurance. Don't dare tell me that people got worse insurance. People may have perceived that because of liars that go out there and give that implication that that's the truth. But that's the biggest bona fide lie. And I would put that up against you item for item for item. So you normally call in, Mike Cisak. Call in, let's debate it. If Obamacare really made anybody's insurance worse. Facts, brother, facts. Stop listening to the right-wing crap. All right. Paul Fleming says, whether it's Sam Bankman-Fried, Barry Madoff, Elizabeth Holmes, it seems like super rich con artists only get prison time when their victims are also include the super rich. You nailed it, Paul Fleming. Breed says, Egberto, Willies, yes, they do. They move towards area of comfort. Yes, that's what they do. Let's see what else we got here. Breed says, I find those I speak to or listen to have no idea Congress works. I read that one already. Mike says, for example, the political left supports criminals while penalizing the victims of those criminals. That's another lie he tells, right? A continuum of lies. I repeat it just because earlier he implies that we on the left lie. But what he just stated there is a bona fide lie. It's not an untruth. It's a lie. Lee Grant says progressives can mind numbed ideologies too. Maybe we all need to regress toward the mean. Let's start with fundamentals like keeping boys out of girls' bathroom. That's not a fundamental, nor is that a big problem in America. Again, Lee Grant, that is how they tickle your carnality. My daughter goes to Kingwood High School. She also went to Kingwood Park before it became a high school. Not once was there an issue about boys into the bathroom. These are isolated conditions that the right wing tries to get you to vote against your own interests. And it has been very effective. I've been trying to tell Democrats there are other ways to fight the lies of the right. We'll get there someday. All right. Paul Fleming says Trump's America first movement is fascist movement. Under his definition, anyone who isn't a white Christian nationalist isn't an American. And even the women in the movement are second-class citizens, equal justice under the law. I mean, yeah, we get it. Welcome aboard, Patricia E. Forker. How are you doing? Where are you from, Patricia? I like to call out where people are from. Michael Fleming says, Mike, you do keep coming back. You only complaining. Well, I mean, we give Mike attention and justifiably so. I consider Mike a friend that needs a lot of help, but I consider Mike a friend. Let's see. Paul Fleming says the Wall Street Journal tantrum in support of Trump's RNC puppet who scrounged up fake electors and intimidated election officials to not certify elections results. It's pure BS and the worst fan service I've ever seen since Star Wars 9. They criticized NBC for getting rid of McDaniel after the RNC got rid of McDaniel. It just don't take them 8 years to figure out it was a bad hire. Look, anybody who was a party to the attempted overthrow of the United States of America should never, ever come on to NBC, ABC, CBS as a news reporter, because inherently they are, whether convicted or not, they're felons. It's period. Let's see. I mean, anybody who thinks that an insurance policy that costs $100 a month with $1,000 out of pocket, I have a Brooklyn Bridge to sell you. Those policies were never worth the paper they were written on. And you should do some more research and find out every policy that costed $100 a month with a so-called $1,000 deductible. Go do your research. You just dropped several degrees of intelligence with me when you made a statement like that. Okay, when you made a statement like that, it is amazing that you actually can believe that. All right, Egberto, even worse, they couldn't afford. Look, I agree with the part that they can't afford insurance. That's why I want universal health care. Period. All right. Paul Fleming says, so let me get this straight. People pay Amazon so they can have Prime Stream Video, and Amazon just made $554 million in revenue, and now Amazon is telling me Prime Video will be including ads, but offered to have me pay more to get Prime ad-free like it was when originally signed up. Do I have that right? I feel a class action coming. No, the class action isn't going to work because when you signed that Prime contract that was on a yearly basis, not a permanent. I mean, if you had signed a contract and then they give you the option to stay with it or not, it'll be different. There's no class action there, Paul. But here's the deal. Remember what capitalism and stock growth is all about. You have to grow continuously, and they want to grow at a rate higher than inflation. Right? And not only higher than inflation, but higher than the growth rate of the country. So therefore, corporations will continually do what you just see there. It doesn't matter. They are constantly going to try to charge you more and more than what inflation is, because they have promised their stockholders, their shareholders, they promised them a growth rate greater than the growth rate of the country. And the only way you can have companies and the profits and dividends of shareholders growing at a fast pace than, the only way to do that is for you to take more and more of the pie. And that's why I tell people, I try to inform people that intrinsic to capitalism is your wealth transfer to the few. And who are those few? Those who command the most capital. And just like the mathematical formula says it, ask Richard Wolff, that's exactly what happens. It's not magical. It's just what happens. If those with capital grow at 7 to 12%, and those without capital, their earnings go up at only 2% of that much a year, that means the people on top are taking your money away. There's no two ways about it. Capitalism by design is made to steal from everybody else. It's math. It simply is math. Michael Rudden says Mike C is partially correct. There were about 300,000 people whose health insurance was ended due to the ACA, mostly because those policies were subpar in some regard, not because they were good. And then tens of millions of people got health insurance because ACA. This is a lie. This is a lie that was long since debunked. Here's a link to it from 2014. Yeah, I know it. I knew that, Mike. I knew that, Michael, but I'm not going to give him partial correctness, because partial correctness assumes that those people who lost those policies, if they had gotten sick, if those policies were real, those policies were shams. And if they had really gotten sick, it was a policy they couldn't use. And no, Mr. Hayes, I don't talk opinions on. When I speak opinions, I'll tell you it's an opinion. These are facts. Paul Fleming says, that's not true, because my wife sold plenty of ACA policies, including to my children, and they had the same coverage that I have in same covers that she had on her job. Look, I was on Obamacare as soon as it came out, and we had very good care. Now, I had a very high deductible because I wanted to keep the price fairly low. So I had a $10,000 deductible. All right. I bet this is one of the right-wing videos. Let's see whose that video is that Mike wants you to watch. Because I'm interested. The reason I do that is since you put it out there. Oh no, that's crap. Okay, got it. That's crap. All right, let's continue. Let's continue. Let's see what else we got here. Paul Fleming says the children get it, but the adults, and I won't say all, seems to be idiots when it comes to genetics and how people perceive themselves, while the adults, the idiots, in this case, the children, are smarter. I leave that up to you, brother. All right, continuing. Eric Hayes says, no, that's a reply. Let's see what else we've got here. A trans is not a guy. It was a straight guy making believe. Thanks for correcting that, Vidish, but I was leaving that alone. Michael Rodney says, a right-wing bubble continues to inflame their base. Let's talk to Ray. Brother Ray, talk to me. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good. Today is a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Shout out to Mr. Rogers. I'm actually calling today because I actually wanted to speak about a caller that you had. I think it was one morning that he was talking about. You were talking about the debacle with Ken Paxton.
Yes.
And when I heard this particular caller talk, you were basically, letting him know, look, I hear where you coming from, but do you hear that you basically are saying that this man, because of who he is, he should have the privilege to do whatever he wants, even if it's against the law? But you yourself, as a regular working class schmo, does not have that same privilege, but yet he says, "Oh, but I like what he does." And when I hear people say that, I can't beg. And I know Egberto, you want to give people a place to land, you want to give people benefit of the doubt, but I'm just gonna say that guy, to me, obviously what his values are. When I hear people say that kind of stuff, I hear their value system is messed up, and that's what I hear. Like
But
with
you're
Trump,
not wrong at
the
all.
people that
You're
say,
not, brother.
yeah,
Brother, let me interrupt you, J. Ray, because you're right. Let me explain this, right? And this is in studying people and dealing with people. I don't think people understand. You know how you still have a king and queen in England? For the longest time, Jamaica still had the Queen of England on their money, even as the Queen have been the oppressor of Jamaica. There are a lot of Caribbean countries that fall under the UK, under the United Kingdom, the Great Britain stuff, that looked at their masters and still honor thy masters, right? There are a lot of Black Americans, right, who sit down there and revere the founding fathers as if they are infallible, in as much as they were once the founding fathers agreed to make them 3/5 of a person. Let me tell you, Ray, and that guy who called in, he is a slave. A slave. We like to look at slave as being, well, Black people were slave in this country, but what folks don't understand is most of the residents of this country are in fact voluntary slaves. And the reason why is when that guy told us that it was okay for him to understand that he wouldn't get the same privilege that Ken Paxton got, but still he's okay with it because Ken Paxton is going to do some of the evil for him, right? You have to think about the mindset, Ray, the mindset in someone that says that. It just shows you how little they think about themselves. You're right.
I mean, true, but I mean, what's the end game here when you have a population of people that are completely okay with criminals running the government as long as they push the bigoted, racist, homophobic, xenophobic agenda that they want? And that's what I'm saying when I talk about a value system that's messed up. Obviously, these people appreciate the racism and the bigotry and the homophobia, and it's like, what can you do if that's all if that's all it takes? That's why it's so easy to win as a Republican, because these people are voting their hate.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, what I talk to people about all the time is, how does hate come along? And let me tell you what I try to do in order to have empathy and compassion, right? I try to think about all the bad things that I've ever thought and all the bad things that I have ever been. Okay. And folks, bear with me a second, guys. I'm coming back to the chat, but bear with me here because I think Ray has brought up an interesting thing, because Ray is not willing. Ray is like, why don't we just throw up our hands and say, you guys are evil, to hell with you. You're irredeemable. Right. And here's what I try to do myself. And I tell this story all the time, so many of you have heard it already. As a former homophobe that had no reason to be a homophobe, but it is just like we have racists right now in our chat room, right? I understand that. Now, why was I the way I was? I was reared that way, right? And I had to make that effort to make that change, but I did make that effort to make the change. Now, I have to trust that if we are going to move on as a country where we can actually get things done, that just like I was able to change, because again, Ray, I want to be clear here. I don't necessarily want to go proportional here, but there is no prejudice as a homophobe is prejudice as a racist. Okay, so I had my evils as well, and I overcame them, and I have to trust that we can get others to overcome it. I'm not asking you as Ray to have the patience that I have, right? because we can't ask everybody to do that, and especially somebody that is hit by hate every day. You, as a black person, you know how the system has treated many of us. But for those of us who can put that aside and say, I am still going to try to follow this path, it's okay. It's okay. And I know sometimes it's frustrating. It's frustrating as hell. And it's frustrating to me too. But somebody got to do it. Anyway, continue, my brother.
Yeah, and you know, most people don't know, and I may not have shared this with you. I am a system impacted person. You know, I had my brush with the law, and hearing that guy really, you know, it pisses me off, really, because it's like, well,
you paid your price.
Trump and yeah, I paid my price. I'm still paying my price with interest and taxes added to it constantly every day. So it's not like I'm just done with it. I'm still paying. I still my quality of life is not the same because I had to go through what I had to go through, you know, to deal with those people. But if I had the benefit of the doubt, like he said, if I could lawyer up, I couldn't lawyer up because, you know, when most people like us, I was growing up in and I'm getting a little fired up. But
no, go ahead, let it out.
A working class household. Yeah, I grew up in a working class household with two parents that punched the clock 40 hours a week. When I got in trouble, they did their best to help me, but I didn't have that Ken Paxton justice. You know, it's kind of like what Dave Chappelle said. He did a skit one time, and I hope you go and look it up. If the justice system was the same for a petty criminal as it is for the high class criminals, and he had pretended to be like a petty drug dealer, but he got the treatment that a white collar criminal would get, and the white collar criminal got the treatment that a low class petty criminal got, and he cried and peed his pants because they could never handle what we have to handle, even when we're innocent.
Yeah, exactly. No doubt.
I think I'm done. I'm done. I just had to get that out, Egberto.
Ray, that's what we're here for, man. We're a family here, brother. And let me just tell you one other movie to watch. I don't know if you've seen it with Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd, Trading Places. It's a microcosm. Okay, great. That has so many answers in there. But thank you, brother. And you keep calling, all right?
One last thing on that.
Yes.
Just like the plot of that movie, let's make them poor and make them feel what it feels like. That's it.
Exactly. And I loved it. You notice? And guess what? The bet was what again? $1.
$1.
$1 to destroy people's lives. In the case they don't even have to pay to destroy our lives. Thank you, brother. You have a great day, Ray.
All right. Stay blessed, man.
All right. Take care. But anyway, let me get back to the chat. Thank you, Ray, for calling. I love when people call. I tell you what, I'll tell you better. If when this show grows larger, over several years, I don't know. We'll extend when we have more calls if we have to. But anyhow. And then we'll make Mike Cesak's day. Then Mike Cesak would say, "Oh, you're getting live callers now." Well, I mean, let me just tell you, to make you a little bit happy, because you kind of touch a little nerve there. My show on KPFT does well. I'm not going to go there. I don't need to address that. All right, let's continue. Michael Radin says the right-wing bubble continues to inflame their base, who never bother fact-checking when their moral outrage is provoked. Axios Williams Institute at UCLA School of Law study finds there is no evidence that letting transgender people use public restroom that align with their gender identity increases safety risk. But we knew that all along. I mean, the people who should take care of folks, the pastors, the evangelical pastors, they're the ones that we need to fear with our children. Don't fear the trans person in the appropriate bathroom. Fear your kid in a closed room with an evangelical pastor. That's what you need to fear. That's what the statistics says. But, again, you would only get that for people who want real information. Eric Hayes says, can't bifurcate richness. People making more than 400K will be taxed more, called trickle-down taxation. Oh, boy. I thought we had enough spoken about that by now, that you should see how nonsensical that statement is, my brother Eric Hayes. But what can I say? Sometimes, like I say, we revert to our comfort zone. We revert to our comfort zone. Michael Radin says, Egberto, it's common problem with the right. They take the parts of the fact that confirm their biases, then twist the facts to suit their talking points, by which time their beliefs are so far from the truth that the initial facts are full of lies, and they rarely bother fact-checking to make sure their beliefs are in any way accurate. And on rare cases where they're shown to be wrong, they don't correct their false belief according to the facts. No, they actually go crazy. All right. NPR, House from Paul Fleming. NPR, Republicans will deliver 2 articles of impeachment against Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas to the Senate on April 10th. Speaker Mike Johnson announced Thursday, oh, wow, I am so scared. Of course, we know it's going nowhere, so that's good to know. And Paul Fleming said Representative Katie Porter, 2 Supreme Court justices signaled last week that they would allow an extremist administration to use a 151-year-old Comstock Act used in the post office, right, to ban abortion nationwide. Reproductive freedom, including birth control and IVF, is on every ballot. And you know what? We have to start making people know that. Don't just use the word Comstock Act. Explain what it means, like Brother Paul just did. Anyway, Bree says studies have shown those who are so homophobic are usually themselves homosexual. Well, I guess it's a good thing then that I got over my homophobia, because, Breach, I love women. You know, I love men too, but I mean, as friends, you know. But anyhow, Mike Cisak, why the health reform law is causing thousands to lose coverage? Yeah, because we need Medicare for all. That's all. It's that simple. The answer is simple. We don't need a corporate answer. It's simple. Simple, simple, simple. All right, Lee Grant says Jamaica is reasonably well-organized society. They ain't inheriting a British colonial-style infrastructure. Oh, Lord. You know, you almost sound like the guy from Twitter who wants to recolonize Africa. He says, those people don't know how to govern themselves. I saw a TikTok yesterday with, I forgot the name of the billionaire. He says he wants to recolonize Africa because those people don't know how to govern themselves. No, that's not true, though. You see, the reality is the people in power there are the people put by the Western countries so that the continent can be pilfered. But you don't know that. You know why you don't know that? Because they're burning your books and they're burning your newspapers and they're preventing the real news from coming here. There is so much all of you need to learn. When I say all, I'm talking about most of the people on the right need to learn about what really happens, that really have many countries in Africa in the state that they're in. But you have to want to learn before that can be a reality. All right, let's see. Michael says, Mike C. doesn't read the articles he posts. From his NBC News article, the White House does not dispute that many in the individual market will lose their current coverage, but argues they will be offered better coverage in its place and that they will get tax subsidies that would offset any increased costs. Individual insurance plans with low premiums often lack basic benefits such as prescription drug coverage or carry high deductibles and out-of-pocket costs. The Affordable Care Act requires all companies to offer such as mental health care and also bars companies from denying coverage for a period. You know, I said all of that before, and it's simple, right? These are simple things. Brothers and sisters, we've got a limerick from Brother Tom. So it is time. Ready to go. Let's get it. Trump's a super salesman, confident and bold. Sells $400 sneakers made of fool's gold. On his MAGA supporters, he's got quite a hold. They'll believe whatever they've been told. Trump's art of the deal became the art of the steal. His latest book is another testament to himself. $46, you can have it on your shelf. With parts both new and old. The USA Bible is sure to be a hit, you'll see. It will be the greatest story ever sold. As usual, you knocked it out of the park, Mr. Zarnik. Thank you so kindly for that. Melissa Bowie is in the house. Did you know that traditional Medicare does not cover vision and dental? Yeah, I know that. And you know why it doesn't? I don't only know that it doesn't cover that because that's sad, but you know why it doesn't? Because the Medicare Advantage people have paid off politicians to prevent Medicare from being a complete healthcare program, so that you have to buy riders for the 20% and riders for the riders for ears, teeth, and eyes. Right? We who are pushing for change are saying Medicare Advantage costs more than 20% more than traditional Medicare. If we killed Medicare Advantage and kept traditional Medicare without increasing any prices, we could cover ears, nose, and eyes, and we could also eliminate, guess what? The 20%. It's all politics. And Melissa, what we have to do, Miss Bowie, is we have to stop allowing people like, let's say, those that influence Mike Cisak, those that have his mind in a trastornado form. We have to allow for minds to see the truth and then elect people that are going to change the system. Right now, the system is legalized theft. A $27,000 biopsy should tell you something, right? A $27,000 biopsy should tell you something. Paul Fleming says, Native American culture, people ask me if I believe in God. I tell them I pray to a creator. They tell me Jesus died for me. I tell them my ancestors did. They say I will burn in hell for not following the Bible, but yet it has been used as a weapon to colonize and murder my people. For me, it's spirituality over religion. I don't hate people for going to church, but I do hate what the churches have done to us. Before colonization, we had our own ways and ceremonies. I choose the path of my ancestors. Paul Fleming, I could not have said that any better. Let's see. Egberto, Africa is colonized by China too, in just not the West. I suggest that you see, China is no saint, but I suggest that you take a look at how China works with Africa compared to how the United States work with Africa. China has a level of respect, not complete, because they still have some racist tendencies in certain areas of Africa, but there's a level of respect. China built freeways in Jamaica, in all over Africa, etc. But watch how it's done. It's not done with the stick. You should learn that. Melissa Bowie says, so people who have retired and get Medicaid have to get Advantage Care, and that is sad. I get, and that is sad, and that is because Medicaid, Melissa, is administered by the state. And since we have a horrendously terrible state government, we have to go through all the shenanigans that Texas has. And that's why we need to vote the people in Texas out. And we have the opportunity to do that every 2 years, and we can. We can also get the Medicare expansion to the Affordable Care Act, which would give everybody in Texas health insurance. Amazing, isn't it? All right, let's see what else we got. Egberto, thanks for reading that out. One can hope Mike C hears, but will he listen? He won't listen, but it's not about Mike C. Others who heard Mike C will be educated appropriately. Melissa, up to $8,000 premiums. I know they piss me off trying to help someone else. Yeah, let me tell you, Melissa, you keep helping people, baby. You keep helping people. Sometimes some of the people you're helping, they don't appreciate your help in the beginning, but when you stick with it, it works. I can tell you about people that, have called back this show and said, oh my God, I listened to this on a podcast and I had to find a way to find you. And they actually find you, man. And thank you for for sticking with me, even though I was an a-hole or something like that. You're a good person. I've heard you on the morning shows. You keep doing the good work, my dear. All right. What else have we got here? Melissa said, right, the government make them go through this tunnel. Yep. Bridge MCP said, cash poor can't pay his bond. They won't lend to no bankrupt pensions for his assets. Yep. But he's going to land on his feet. He's a rich guy of the right persuasion. Medicaid people get more than Medicare pisses me off. Well, let me tell you something. We can solve all of that, healthcare for all. And I didn't realize I was reading so much that I didn't get to cover the actual Medicare Advantage story. But I have the link inside of the newsletter, inside of the bond for this program, the blog for this program that I'll put up shortly. Michael Ruddin, last message I'm reading. Egberto, for that message you read out, Mike C., pretty sure mostly everyone outside the right-wing bubble who haven't lied to already knew that the ACA was a net positive to increase. Yeah, they did. But there are a lot of other right-wingers who didn't. So I got to get out of here. So before I go, folks, I want to thank all of you that are contributors. This week we had great contributors from Miss Bowie, Melissa Bowie. Thank you so kindly for being a great supporter of Politics Done Right. Expect something in the mail. Likewise to Michael Rudnin, thank you this week for being a great supporter of Politics Done Right. And we have a lot of great supporters from Bridge MCP to Lee Grant and many to Eric Hayes. All we have wonderful supporters right here. So I want to thank all of you that are here, even if I didn't call your name and you're supporting with a link or whatever, you know I love you and you know I appreciate you. Please, for those who haven't yet become supporters, please consider becoming a part by becoming a paid subscriber of our newsletter. And it's very easy to do that. All you need to do is go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. I got the wrong thing. Oh, why did I put that in there? That's wrong. I don't know why I put that in there. All right. That was from Mike Cisak. This is what I wanted to put in there. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter is the way to support the program. If you become a paid supporter of the newsletter, you can read all of my books online. All right. Paid supporter, you read all of my books online. Linda is getting stronger very slowly, but there is improvement there. For a minute, we were a bit more concerned than we are now, but she's getting stronger slowly. So, folks, please support the program by going to politicsdoneright.com. So I tell you, there's an all-encompassing link. politicsdoneright.com/support has all the different ways you can support the program. Okay. But I'd like you to become paid subscribers of our newsletters if you have the wherewithal to. Remembering that, again, one important thing to remember there is that you would normally buy me a coffee, buy Politics Done Right a coffee every month or so. Consider that a newsletter. You're supporting what we do. And don't forget my new book, Tribulations of an Afro-Latino Caribbean Man. And you can get that by going to politicsdoneright.com/books. politicsdoneright.com/books. And all 5 of my books are there, including both audiobooks, etc. So consider becoming a supporter. I got to get out of here. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this beautiful baby. I am what?
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.